Welcome to the Own Your Choices, Own Your Life podcast. I am your host, Marsha Van Weinsberg. I'm a business coach, speaker, and author of the best-selling book, When She Stopped Asking Why. On this podcast, we will use the tips, tools, and strategies used by myself and our speakers to break through and overcome the challenges in our lives. When we take radical responsibility of our choices, create boundaries, grow our courage, and practice self-care and letting go of what isn't ours to control, we can completely change our stories. When we take full ownership of our stories, we take back our personal power, and this allows us to impact, serve, and support others by showing them that they are not alone and helping them find freedom from their stories. When you own your choices, you truly own your life. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to talk about one question that changed everything. And it might sound like a very big sentence and phrase to say, but it is definitely something that worked for me. So I just want to clarify, this is something that I started using about 7 years ago when I recognized the change and the influence and impact that this word was having on me in my life. And it was a very simple shift, but I had to do it repeatedly, multiple times a day. And I encourage you to find something that can work for you, especially if you're in a space that you feel super stuck and you don't want to stay there anymore. Sometimes we look for all these big, elaborate things, all these programs, all these things that we can do that can create change. But it really does come down to the change and right in our mindset. Like, what do we believe is possible? Because we can apply all the different strategies. If our mindset is in a space that, like, what's the point? I can't do this anyways, then you've got to start somewhere else. So hopefully this episode will give you permission. This is one thing that drastically changed my life. When I was in the space of looking to write my book, and I wrote and published my book, When She Stopped Asking Why, in 2017. I was really doing the writing in 2016 and early 2017. And I was in this space. The publisher I used at the time, she's like, start to think about the title. Well, the title totally overwhelmed me. I could not figure out what to call this vulnerable share of my life story in one book. And I really just started to think, like, what was the turning point? And this is it. This is why I picked this title. And many people had said, like, what's that title have to do with it? When you read it, you understand. When she stopped asking why. The why questions, they were killing me. They were absolutely killing me. I was a parent dealing with teen substance abuse to a level that I would never dream on anybody. And all I kept doing is replaying every single situation that was happening, asking, why is this happening to me, to us, to them? What did we do wrong? It was all about blame. It was all about needing to point to someone else and blaming them, or sitting in the space of, like, hoping someone's just going to come and fix this, or believing deep down that this must be my life. Like, this must be what I deserve. I don't know. I know that sounds unreal, but that's where my mind was at the time. I felt I had done something wrong to deserve this. And this honestly is what I attribute a lot of it to: the word why. The word why was absolutely killing me. And the more I started to dive into understanding the word why, the why is a victim question that will never lead to giving you an answer or justifying the reasons of why you might be experiencing what you're experiencing. Like, if you think of the most difficult experience you've come through, a challenge, however, like something in your life, we've all had something. And if you start asking the questions, why, is there an answer that you can get that will make it okay? Like, is there an answer? I had to come to a space of going, like, what answer am I going to hear right now that's going to make this okay? Because in no universe is what I'm living okay. And so it didn't matter. And this space of asking why leaves us stuck inside of our story. And I talk about being stuck in your story versus standing on your story a lot on this podcast. When you're in your story, you're replaying scenarios, past scenarios over and over and over. It creates a loop of anxiety and depression and frustration of why is this happening to me? it actually blocks healing. You can't even get to a space of healing because no change comes from the victim mindset. Healing starts when we can be in a space of ownership and seeing how we respond differently, regardless of our circumstances. The quote that really shifted for me, like many, many years ago, was Stephen Covey, is that we are a product. We are not a product of our circumstances. We are a product of our decisions, which means that no matter what is happening to us, we always get to decide how we respond. And I started to think back to all of the stories, the mentors, the people, the movies, the biographies that I always resonated with. They all had backstories that would blow your mind. I was resonating with them because of what they had overcome. And I'm looking at their behavior and what they've done. And really, truthfully, when we see something in someone else and we admire that, not from a jealousy standpoint, from an admiration, like an expansion, that is just a clue of what is available within us. We're seeing it because it's a mirror and we are able to create that ourselves. So I started to look at it differently. And when you stop asking why, as an example in this situation, healing can start, because I could start to look at how was I responding? What was I doing? What could I do differently? Because honestly, at the end of the day, I had done everything physically possible. So the only thing that could change was my decision. And this is a tough one. I know this is a tough one because I get messages from people that blow my mind, but I also know where they're at in their story. And again, no judgment. We all find a way to work through our story. Some people do not, and that's okay. We have to decide that we want to. We are the common denominator to everything that is happening in our lives. God, that one sucks. Can I just say that? Like it sucks and it's empowering. When I was in a low space, I just went, wait, it can't just be my parents, my spouse, my kids, my friends, every other person's fault in my entire life, because then I'm taking absolutely no ownership. And I'm actually the common denominator that's going everywhere. So when I started to recognize that, that was a space of, okay, let's sit in some ownership. The other thing, just a quick share for you, is that when you're in a space of blame, you're actually, like, say you're blaming somebody for your circumstances right now, you're actually in a space of sitting and waiting for that person's behavior to change for your life to change. So you could be waiting for a very long time. And as I was in this situation, because nothing was changing with my kids, I actually had to change and go first. So it's not an automatic switch. It's not. It actually does require grieving, guilt. You have to learn how to surrender to what you can't control, and literally owning the shit out of what you can control. That's the difference. Letting go of what's not yours to control, and then owning what is yours to control. And when you really start to break it down, I've done this with coaching clients before, where it's like, okay, you have 3 minutes or 5 minutes to write down all the things that are stressing you out, that you are in a space of going, okay, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm grieving, I don't know what to do with this. Write it all out, and then go through and check mark the things that you actually can control. And it's been an interesting exercise, because I've seen people write down like 30 things inside of 3 to 5 minutes. And then when they go back through to check, it's like, oh, wait, there's like 2 things that I can actually control. So we're spending tremendous amount of time on things that we actually can't even control. And then what happens is that we don't have any energy left to focus on the things that we can control, because we've just given it away everywhere. We've just thrown it and given it away. So with a lot of practice, conscious awareness, and repetition, you can change the whole story. It's not easy. I never said it was. None of this was easy. And in fact, sometimes it's perceived that this is very easy for me. And I've heard this multiple times, because you are strong. And I'm like, no, it's just constant, repetitive work is what it is. And you have to be in a space of deciding that this is not my story and this is not how I choose to live. So it's not automatic, but it's very possible. The last thing I want to say on the why is, please know that the why is actually only important when you're driving towards your goals. Like when you're working for a purpose, you've got this vision of what you're working towards. In this example, like the word why, like your why can keep you focused and grounded, because we're moving forward towards something. When we use the word why for like judgment, justification, or jealousy, it's paralyzing. We don't move. We don't change. Nothing happens differently. It keeps us stuck in our challenges. It keeps us unhappy, spiraling out of control, full of resistance, resentment. And at the end of it all, it's a waste of time and energy. And I say it over and over again, your energy is the only resource you have to create change in your life. It's it. That's it. It actually is the only one. And energy can be created. It can be created by what you choose to do, how you take care of yourself, what you do every single day, what you take ownership for, and how you can learn to let go of things that aren't yours to control. So if you haven't read my book, it is called When She Stopped Asking Why. And it is a vulnerable story of myself navigating as a parent, dealing with teen substance abuse and so many other back parts of my story that weren't, I didn't actually plan on originally sharing, but it's very powerful because it's part of the whole story, right? When you start to look at it and recognize, yes, I am the common denominator that has gone everywhere. So what can I do differently? How can I show up differently? And every single time the why pops up for me, and it still does to this day, every single time I hear myself thinking why, saying why, this is what I shift to. I shift to what? What? What, Marsha? What next? What do you do next? What's an action step you can take today? What is something you can control? The reason I switched to what is because what is an action word, and action word will create change. So I wanted to share that with you. It has been a very powerful shift in my life for so many reasons. And it is literally one question that changed and changes everything for me. So if this speaks to you, please feel free, tag me, message me, and listen, this might trigger something in you, and that's okay too. I encourage you to think deep down, listen, ask what it's telling you. And maybe there's a message there. Maybe there's something there. You might find a different phrase that works for you. All I know is for me, this was my go-to, hundreds of times an hour until I could consciously start to make a shift and make a change. So on that, 2 things in the show notes. We are now on YouTube. If you're not watching us there, we are now on YouTube. Please go over and subscribe and share, tag me on social media. I so appreciate the shares. And lastly, the coaching certification waitlist, the NLP coaching certification waitlist for speakers, podcasters, writers, learning how to share their story and finding these tools to support you in the process and your clients. This is opening in early 2023, but the presale is right now. When you put your name on the presale, there are so many bonuses in there that I can't even wait to tell you. That is available in the show notes. It also unlocks an extended payment plan and a savings of up to $1,000. So I would love to have you. If this is calling on you, I would love to have you join the wait list and to support you in this process in early 2023. Thank you so much for being here. So grateful for you. Have an incredible day. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Own Your Choices, Own Your Life podcast. If you love this episode, please submit a rating and review on iTunes, and please share it with someone you think could benefit from hearing this message or this podcast. I love connecting and meeting you, so please screenshot the episode and tag me on social media or Instagram stories at Marsha Van W. And until next time, remember, when you own your choices, you truly own your life.